Hi, everyone. Okay, let's get started. I'm Katrien. I'm your host today. So I'll be doing very little talking, just introducing our speakers and introducing this session. So we are starting this session on the EOSC Core with an intro by Mark van der Sanden. Then we'll get a presentation of EOSC AAI by Christos Kanellopoulos, then monitoring by Kostas. And then we have accounting for services by Kostas and accounting for research projects by Andreas Czerniak. And then we have order management by Roksana Wilk and the help desk by Pavel. During this session, we will be collecting feedback via Slido. So you can join Slido by the link that you see on the screen here, or by scanning the QR code that you see. Then we are ready to start the first presentation, which is by Mark van der Sanden. He will give an introduction to the EOSC Core. Mark is a technical specialist at SERV and the technical coordinator of UDAT. He specializes in data management and large-scale data infrastructure, and he has been involved in a lot of EOSC-related projects. In EOSC Future specifically, he is a member of the Technical Coordination Board, and he is also involved in the architecture and interoperability task in our project. So, Mark, over to you.
I need to unmute. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, Mark, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Mark van der Sanden from SERV. And these slides are about describing a little bit more of the EOSC Core, not going through all the details of the EOSC Core components, because that will be done in the other presentations after me. So for me, it is more at the high level. This is a diagram which has been developed by the EOSC Architecture Working Group from the previous EOSC Governance Board. And this describes the minimal viable EOSC, but it also identifies how the EOSC Core is positioned to the EOSC Exchange, but also towards the EOSC federations and the community and users at large. Frequently, we use an analogy to explain the EOSC Core or the minimal viable EOSC with a store where you sell different goods or make different goods available. And if you look then at the EOSC Core is more of the foundation of this store. It will have the building so that you have a store made available, but also you need registries so that you can make services available, but also that those services can be ordered. But you also need shelves so that you have different merchandising and goods so that you can promote those services to consumers. But also you need a number of agreements and logistics with providers so that they can make the resources available through the shop. And if you look at this, the EOSC Exchange is more than the shelves, but also the goods made available through the customers. And if you look at the EOSC Federation, those are more as the providers of those goods make available through the exchange, but also the providers can also again be users of those goods. And if you look at the research and innovation research community, those are in principle the customers of those resources, which are made available through the exchange. And if you then look at what is the minimal viable EOSC, is the basics, the fundament which you have, that's the EOSC Core. You need a minimum set of goods made available through the exchange. Therefore, you need a certain set of providers making those goods available through the exchange, but also you need users of making use of those resources made available. And this is more that the MPE, the minimal viable EOSC, is a slice of all this information which is made available through EOSC. And if you look then what kind of resources are being made available, that those are services, but also research products and research products in different kinds of flavors, so that you have data, publications, software, but anything what can be supporting research can be made available through EOSC. If for developing further the EOSC and the EOSC Core, we have a number of principal guidelines. It is that we not start from scratch. So we want to federate existing infrastructures into a more system of systems architecture. For this, we want to provide a glue layer, which is in principle the EOSC interoperability framework, via which you can connect different services to each other, different kinds of resources to each other. So it is that the EOSC interoperability framework, we want to promote which kind of guidelines and standards to be used within the EOSC. We are setting up further the EOSC Core, further develop the EOSC Core capabilities and services, but we also are populating the EOSC Exchange with services and resources. And at the moment, for example, if you look at the marketplace, we have more than 300 different kinds of services of more than 200 different providers made available through the marketplace. And the developments which we do are based on user requirements. Therefore, we are very much engaged with the different science clusters, which are part of EOSC Future, providing feedback on how we want to develop and how we need to develop further the EOSC Core and Exchange services. This is a diagram of the EOSC architecture. This is a high-level diagram. There you see the different components as the EOSC Core, the EOSC Exchange, the interoperability framework, but also a supporting activities so that we have engagement towards the user communities. If you go to the details of the EOSC Core, I will not go into details of the component because that will be part of the next presentations. But there you see that we have an EOSC Core platform, which are the components which consist of the EOSC Core, but also we have a number of EOSC Core coordination activities so that that we can support the onboarding of services and resources within the marketplace, within the exchange, but also that we have security policies defined around providing those resources, but also on basis of, for example, the PED policy or the rules of participation. Then we have the EOSC Exchange, and the EOSC Exchange is also a little bit divided by two different layers, where we have a horizontal layer, where the services are offered, which are of generic nature, so that it is not very thematic for a certain community domain, but more are made available to a wide range of different communities, users. But we also have an option that many of the community services can be made available through the exchange. So these are domain specific, but can be offered and promoted to a wider community. This is an animated slide where we want to show how the different communities can make use of the EOSC. And because we also see that there are many different organizations of communities. You have communities which are very well organized, which have their own platforms available so that they already provide their services towards their own targeted users. That can be consisting of many different providers providing different kinds of capabilities. And we have the EOSC Core platform, which is in principle a platform offering service and resource towards the wider range of the EOSC community. And what the organized communities can do, they can integrate their resources, make those resources available through the EOSC platform. They can decide which kind of resources are to be made available, different kinds of services, different kinds of data, but they also can see how they can integrate with different capabilities provided through the EOSC Core platform. But we also have different levels of communities which are setting up their infrastructure, they are building their platforms, but also they can see what kind of resources are made available through the EOSC that they can reuse those services within their own platforms. And we have also communities which are emerging, small communities, but also individual researchers. We do not have the means to set up their own full set of platform, but they can see what kind of resources and services are made available so that they can use those services made available through the EOSC. If you look from a provider point of view, then the provider can make use of different levels within the EOSC Core platform. And this is an animated slide where I will explain a little bit of the options which can be done. If you are a service provider, you have a service, you want to make those services available through EOSC, then what you can do is onboard the service into the EOSC catalog. This will make the service available and discoverable by users of EOSC so that you can serve a broader community. But if your service is in data source, so that you maintain data or metadata of data within your infrastructure, then you can also make your data source harvested by the resource product catalog. So then not only the service, but also the information of the content of the data in your service is made discoverable through EOSC. Depending if what kind of service you have, and for example, your service needs login capabilities, then you can integrate your service with an EOSC compliant or an R compliant AAI proxy, and you as provider can join the EOSC AAI Federation so that you can allow a broader set of users making use of your service by providing login capabilities on basis of their own credentials, so that you serve the broader EOSC user community. Because you are a data source, you are also collecting different kinds of information and metrics of the usage of your data within the service. Then you can integrate your service and that you publish the metrics which you collect on your data source into the accounting for resource products, so that you can measure the open science impact of your service. You can also integrate with a monitoring system so that you allow availability monitoring of your service so that you can show quality of service on your service. You can integrate your help desk also with the EOSC help desk so that you can provide one channel of providing support to users through EOSC, so that the users of EOSC have a single help desk which is provided through the EOSC Core platform, but automatically is integrated with your help desk. But also depending on how the service is being offered, it can also, and for example, ordering is requested to make use of your service, then you can integrate your service delivery platform or channel with the EOSC order management system so that you can provide a seamless ordering of services through the EOSC platform of your service, and that you can manage those orders within your own platform. Also, depending on what kind of service you have, and if you need publishing of, for example, usage figures, you can also integrate your service within accounting for services so that you can ease the reporting of user figures, for example, for virtual access reporting. Within EOSC Future, we have developed a high-level roadmap, and the high-level roadmap is organized in 3 different milestone periods, which is M6, M18, and M30. And that is mainly to organize also as checkpoints where we can show, okay, this is what we have reached at those milestones. And if you look at the more detailed roadmaps according to those milestones, then I will point to the next slide where the services are being presented, but also more of the roadmaps being presented on the different services. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we're now getting ready for our second session, which is by Christos Kanellopoulos. He will introduce the EOSC AAI. Christos is a senior manager at GÉANT, where he is leading the GÉANT Core AAI platform. He's also chairing the AARG engagement group for e-infrastructure and the EOSC AAI task force. Within EOSC Future, he is also leading the EOSC AAI task. So Christos, over to you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. So what is the AAI? AAI stands for Authentication Authorization Infrastructure. And already since a few years now, science clusters, research infrastructures, and infrastructure providers have been implementing their AAIs using the Arc Blueprint architecture in order to manage their users, but also the access and rights to services and resources. For those who don't know, who have not heard about the ARC blueprint architecture, basically it's an architecture that provides a set of building blocks for software architects and technical decision makers who need to design and implement access management solutions for international risk collaborations that are interoperable with each other. So we already have an ecosystem, and the EOSC AAI comes and builds on top of this one. So the goal for the EOSC AAI is to provide the trust fabric, a trust mortar, with which we can bring together joint bricks of the current set of scientific communities, collaborations, and infrastructures together. Something very important is that many times the term EOSC AAI has been interpreted as a single instance when somebody can just go and connect, but this is not the actual reality. The EOSC AAI is a set of principles and the governance structures for how the architecture evolves and grows over time to provide this ecosystem where the various clusters, research infrastructures, infrastructure providers can come together, interoperate, and provide an environment where trust through the EOSC Federation can happen and users can get seamless access to services and resources. So the EOSC Federation is what we are building right now. It will combine together the community authentication authorization infrastructures of the various science clusters, the infrastructure proxy components that they are using to connect services, and basically it will allow them to connect once to the EOSC Federation and then establish trust with all the other components that are part of that federation itself. Technical interoperability and performance will be tested at the time where somebody joins the EOSC Federation. At the same time, a basic assessment and making sure that the necessary GDPR and security policies are meet the requirements. The EOSC Federation will not, and it's not something that will stand by itself. It will interoperate within the international landscape because science is not something that is confined only within the European layer. So the EOSC Federation is designed to interoperate with the existing national academic identity federations, and as such take advantage of the federated capabilities of the various institutions, research institutions that are part of these federations to enable their users to seamlessly access and share resources. So how can someone join and integrate with the EOSC AAI? So first of all, if a service provider has comes from a specific country or has a national scope, let's say it is a higher education institution, a library operating in a given country, a national research infrastructure, you can go and reach out to your national academic federation and join that federation, and through the peering that EOSC Federation, basically you will be part of this EOSC AAI trust environment where your users will be able to access your services. Many research infrastructures, science clusters are already providing services to other research infrastructures beyond their communities. And as such, they need and should be connecting their services to infrastructure proxies operated by those science classes or research infrastructures. And in the last case, you will have services that require more advanced capabilities that one can get from the identity federations, and they do not have a gateway from one of the research infrastructures to connect to. Then they can also go to one of the infrastructures like GÉANT, EGI, EUDAT, OpenAir, and ask to connect these services through these generic infrastructure proxies that enable access to the EOSC Federation. So for those who would like to get more information about this aspect, you can use the EOSC helpdesk to request for support from the EOSC AI support team, and we'll be very happy to guide you through this process. So where we're right now and where we're going towards. Right now, we're setting up the EOSC Federation with a primary focus on the existing science clusters. Our main goal is to bring all the science clusters on board to the EOSC Federation. And by October 2022, what we want to reach is basically all science clusters having connected to the EOSC Federation, which will be fully operational and peering with all the other academic federations. By then, we should have also the initial technical guidelines to connect IDP and AI proxies, but also services from public and private sector service providers to the EOSC Federation. And the main use case that we want to enable by then is basically a researcher coming from one research infrastructure, from one discipline, to be able to access seamlessly services, resources provided by another research infrastructure using the federated AI of EOSC. In October 2023, we want to take this one step further. And by then, basically, we want to be able to support the full life cycle of a researcher, including data processing, storage, analysis, and publishing, supported by resources available and transparently integrated through EOSC using their identities in a seamless way. By October 2023, effectively, the EOSC Federation will be open to anyone, and community AI's infrastructure proxy will be able to seamlessly integrate with the EOSC Federation through a self-service onboarding without requiring much manual intervention. And by then, we want also to take a look at the cross-sector access to EOSC Federated AI and see how we can provide technical and policy interoperability guidelines to make this happen. So this is where we are right now, and this is where we're going towards. And we'll be very happy to get a request through the help desk and support you in this process to connect your providers to the EOSC AI and make them available to EOSC. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Christos. We are now moving on to a presentation of EOSC monitoring tools by Kostas Koumantaros. Kostas has been working at GRNET since 2002 and is working as a senior project manager on e-infrastructure, as well as being the head of the Department for European Project Strategy and Proposals of the Directorate of European and International Infrastructure Projects. That's a mouthful. He has been involved with e-infrastructure projects for nearly 20 years, and he is currently the task leader of EOSC Future's back office monitoring framework for resources. So he is coordinating the development, both of the monitoring and the accounting of the EOSC Core services. And he will first give a presentation on monitoring, and then we'll continue with a presentation on accounting for services. So Kostas, the floor is yours. I don't think we can hear you, Kostas.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. That happens when you have too many buttons and too many screens. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kostas Koumantaros. We are going to talk today about monitoring and a bit about accounting for services. Monitoring in EOSC. Sorry, I cannot change my slides 1 second. Monitoring in EOSC is all about trying to emulate what the user will see, how the user will interact with the services, and make sure that this is available to them. It's not about say the fabric monitoring that everybody is used to. It's more about emulating what the user behavior towards a service. The example we always use is for example, an FTP service, a file transfer service. What monitoring will try to do is try to upload a file, move a file, remove a file, rename a file, trying to do all the actions someone will actually do on an FTP service. We collect this, then all this information from all these sites, as you can see in the slide, and try to make and we calculate what we call availability and reliability reports and the real-time status reports. A real-time status report is say near almost, let's say, in real time status report of what is happening with the service at a specific point in time, while the availability and reliability reports is what happened throughout, let's say, the last month, the last period of time. The EOSC monitoring service is also able to issue real-time alerts. And when one of the services we have fails, or one of the metrics we finds a warning or a failure in a service, then we try to notify the provider, the operator of the service, so that they can fix that before the end user actually realizes that. For EOSC, we operate two instances. One of them is for EOSC Core, which it's all about, let's say, us seeing that all the components of EOSC Core that we are present today function as they should and are well integrated with each other. For example, we monitor the AI, we monitor the monitoring itself, the services, we monitor the providers portal that we saw before, we monitor a number of different things. Similarly, we have the EOSC, what we call the EOSC exchange monitoring, which is, as I said, we try to emulate whatever the service does. And to the EOSC exchange monitoring, we have 4 different integration options. One of the central one, which is the basic one, is we get all the information coming from the providers portal. And as soon in the next couple of months, this is going to be extended so that you'll be able to provide a lot more information. For example, what is the type of your service? What is the actual, let's say, location on the URL of the service? Because as you probably know, the providers portal, the research catalog that we have right now only collects a description of the service. What we will be asking soon enough, or give you the option, is to provide more information about the actual service you offer and where that service is, so that we can try to devise a probe and a metric that emulates what the user will do, how the user will say, interact with your service. And all this is going to be presented within our portal, or let's say our monitoring interface. The second integration option we offer is the possibility for us to create a tenant for you, a community instance in essence, where we will require a topology, say a description of your topology coming to us, a description of the services you operate and where they are, and how we can monitor them. This will create your individual reports according to the discussion we're going to have together. From then onwards, we can then integrate this with the central monitoring. The third integration option we offer is that we know that quite a few communities out there have already their own monitoring service, right? So with the idea, the concept here is that we offer a multiple ways, and with predefined, if you can send us predefined data, we can use this in our calculation for availability and status reports and be integrated fully with the system. Similarly, in the other direction, all the results we collect on the monitoring, the availability and reliability results, all the API results we have can be sent either by an API, or they can be sent over via the Argo messaging service, which is a pub/sub service where you can actually use this to integrate, for example, in your own catalogs, in your own portals as you wish, or you can select just a subset of the data we collect from the whole EOSC, the whole of EOSC. Our roadmap is a bit, let's say, focuses on in the sense that we are already operating by October 2022. After summer, we expect that they will, as I described before, to be able to perform in the first, let's say, in the central service, perform a bit more specific checks on every service that is willing to cooperate with us. So that is, we can have a little bit more detailed and a bit more in-depth analysis what's going on with the services listed in the EOSC catalog. Similarly, we are hoping that by September 22, we will offer, let's say, a workflow where you can, in a semi-automated way, you can do a self-service integration of the checks you want to do, so that it can be deployed through our system. Then by September 23, which is the end of the EOSC future, this will include a bit more, let's say, bells and whistles, and a bit more, let's say, different ways to do it. For example, automated thresholds will be able to set so that for a specific community, for example, a service needs to be available 99%. because they are in high demand, and others might be a bit lower. So you should be able to customize exactly how the reports operate for you and how, let's say, the alarms or the issues are raised afterwards. The system offers this kind of flexibility already, and the question is how we're going to collect this information coming from a bigger community, because the system is so far is meant to be operated by, let's say, big infrastructure like EGI, where there is a set, let's say, operations team handling all this. And the difference now is that we are moving to a different scale, so we need to automate a number of different, let's say, configurations so that this can happen automatically. Similarly, as Christos said, we are more than willing and happy to accommodate you. Please open a ticket on monitoring for us in the EOSC help desk, and you can find a lot more documentation of how the R monitoring works in our website. Moving on now to the accounting for services, I need to put a huge disclaimer that this is a service that is now it's currently being heavily developed, so it's a bit early stages. But the main concept we have is to be able to collect metrics for every type of resource out there. And to that extent, we are creating an aggregation and exchange mechanism, starting with the virtual access metrics as the, let's say, guinea pig for us, or the first use case. And the idea is that we try to create a mechanism, which is mainly an API, that collects, aggregates, summarizes, calculates a bit the difference between the different metrics. And to that extent, we are trying to, let's say, we're using the expertise coming from big infrastructures like EGI, EUDAT, OpenAir, and others. And we are in close collaboration with all the we are planning to be in close collaboration with all of the Infra 07 projects so that they can provide feedback. We have already done quite a few experiments or integration, let's say, tests with OpenAir Nexus projects, and they are able to send all their VA metrics they collect to our to this set, let's say, aggregation point, which is mainly based into the, let's say, the key components we have is the metric definitions, so that which in essence it's how we allow the end user to define a metric, what it is, and how it's calculated, how it's going to be used, how it's going to be aggregated, what is the unit, say, of measurement, and all this stuff. And then it's the bulk of the metrics themselves, which are associated, of course, with a metric. We are currently continuing to model how we're going to get how we're going to represent projects, providers, and what the virtual access lingo is called installations, which is actually a specific instance of a service dedicated to a specific project. A prototype is available, as you can see in the link above. I wouldn't suggest you to use it. It's not something that is ready to be used, but you can experiment with it. From the scratch, we do offer the possibility to use OIDC to handle authentication authorization. It supports full CRUD for both metric definitions and metrics. And we expect the demo instance to be available by June 2022, and a beta version which is going to be, let's say, released to the public by September 2022. And that is all from me.
Thanks, Kostas, for this presentation on accounting for services. We'll now continue. Research projects which will be presented by Andreas Czerniak. Andreas is a computer scientist and works at Bielefeld University Library in Germany as a project officer for the EU-funded project OpenAir Nexus. And he is currently in the team of OpenAir Nexus usage counts. He was chairing OpenAir Standing Committee on Services and Technologies from 2019 and to 2021. So Andreas, over to you for accounting for research projects.
Thank you very much. So can you see my screen and hear me?
Yes, all good.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So yes, today I'm presenting the research accounting for research products. This is different to accounting for services, as we've seen before. And I go in more detail like Marcus presents in the first presentation today. Together with the team, we already have several years of conceptual and as well as practical experience with metrics and indicators for open science. And on this fundamental, we are contributing to the accounting for research products here. The research product accounting is to aggregate on two different types of usage indicators that we have in the scholarly field at the moment for different types of research outputs. In the context of EOSC, this is data sets more, and we also have experience with articles and book indicators that we are collecting from different points of services that I'm showing later in the slides. We have two types, as I said. This is the pull and push that I will showing in a minute. These collection of user statistics for and usage statistic reports for our service are based on open standards and open protocols. So we set this up for different types of services for institutional repositories or national aggregators, and exchange information on indicators and metrics on open standards and protocols. One of these standards is for the reports, the counter code of practice that we are using, and the service actually is provided by the OpenAI usage counts that is in productive and robust since many years. If you, how could you participate on the service that we have? As a resource provider, you indicate your availability of a resource that could be integrated in the EOSC Core service. You register your repository, like a repository or something else. And then we have two types of collecting information from your side. On the one hand, you'll see it on the left side, is the push component. This is more like a live event for indicators that you send to our service. And on the other hand, on the right hand, you see pull component. This is more like a serial batch version of our service. In detail, here's an overview of the push and pull components. We see on the left side the repositories or national aggregators. Mostly a repository could send a live event to our analytics system. This is based on the open source version of Matomo. This is horizontal scalable. And after we receive these push events, we have some process chains here to deduplicate events because on some duplicated events from some repositories and so on, and make it available in our user statistic database. For the national ones, this is left downside, is mostly an aggregated part of collecting events. This is a pull request. We get counter code of practice reports, make some processing there also, like the duplication with online live events and so on, and make it available in the user statistic database at the moment. And after this, we could also produce counter code of practice reports version 5, and the portals are also have a direct connection to this user statistic database. This is also connected to the EOSC research product catalog. This will be also have these kinds of information of indicators there. The one which what I said is the statistics on users activities for research products is robust and in production, is based on standardized versions, open protocols, a counter code of practice standards, or SushiLite APIs. And with this, we could track and evaluate the research over the EOSC environment completely. For the next time, for the roadmap, we have two types of tasks here. For month 18, this is a user statistic for data sets, especially for views and downloads at the moment, but we are working on more indicators here. And the other task is to integrate these user statistics that we have in the research catalog, research product catalog for the EOSC. Thank you very much.
And thanks a lot, Andreas. Next up, we have Roksana Wilk, who will present the EOSC Core's order management system. Roksana is a leader of an IT R&D team in the EOSC Computing Center in Krakow, which specializes in end-to-end IT solutions for science and industry, collaborating with scientists. During her time at Cyfronet, she became involved in EOSC-related projects and now acts as the institution's coordinator for EOSC activities. Specifically in EOSC Future, she is responsible for the delivery of user-facing parts of the EOSC platform. And she's also one of the co-chairs of the EOSC Rules of Participation Task Force. So Roksana, take it away. Hi, Roksana. For now, we can't hear you.
Yes, I had the same problem as Kostas. Sorry. Thank you a lot, and I will start one more time. The order management in EOSC. So the order management in general is about the activity that allows the provider type of user in EOSC communicate with the consumer part of EOSC, so they can give access, in the end, give access to the resources they are offering in the EOSC environment. Although the name is the order management, please don't be mistaken. It's not about the usually understood ordering mechanism, so connected with money only. The more general term probably is the resource access that you can be that you can be aware of. So to summarize, it's all about getting users the possibility to have a centralized possibility to get to know the offer and be able to say what the users want, and in the end, get the access to the resources of their interests. Sorry. Maybe I will do it that way. The user's perspective of the order management in EOSC. The order management for users takes part in the EOSC front office part of the EOSC platform, the marketplace especially. First step to be taken is finding the resource of interest of the user and having a say that they want to access the resource or the service in particular. Then the offer selection takes place. The offer of a service is a given set of parameters about the service of that is presented to the user. Depending on the service or the resource type, there might be different types of offers, not necessarily, but this is usually the case. After the user selects the offer of interest, the user is being given the information about the access type of these services, because the order management right now supports different access types of the resources. One of the access types at the moment is the ordering required type that is being presented to you right now. And again, order required type is connected with the fact that you as the provider need to not necessarily grant the access to, but need to be aware of the fact that somebody is using your service. Sometimes it's connected with the fact that you need to configure the service accordingly to the user's request or order submitted. And it can be an automated, semi-automated, or manual process, but it's all about in the end, it's all about the interoperability between one and the other part. If the configuration takes place, there is also the possibility to give the technical specification of the resource. And in the end, there is also the space for the users within the platform to gather all the orders and kind of cluster them in items we called projects in the marketplace. And the project space is also the space devoted for your contact with the users or the customers who has ordered your resource. And also from the user perspective is a place where any remarks about the order can be given. The status updates are being visible for the end user, the details of the order. And also, it is also a place where the user, because we know that there are some cases where in order to grant access, you need to know the information about the purpose of the use of the resource. So this is also the place where the user can specify, we call it the project details. It's a place where the purpose of the scientific research is taking place, where the affiliation of the user can be specified, the country, and all information we think might be relevant from your point of view. And this is where when the user can contact with you, or you can contact the user at the same time. Your perspective on the order management. So the order management is somehow connected with the ordering process, but this will be better specified in the later section of this event during the EOSC portal part. So I will just focus on the orders management specific place in this process. So you as a provider, if you have your resources promoted in EGI platform, in EOSC platform, you have a possibility to give the information about the offers of your resource. This is how the offers are being presented right now in the system. You have the possibility to create new offers, to manage them, to specify attributes like name, description of the offers, and most importantly, the technical parameters of it, if it makes sense for the resource, obviously. This part that you have seen just a second ago, it's connected with the path if you want to use the platform itself and specify the offers manually in the system. There is also the possibility, if you have your own catalog, your own marketplace Marketplace. You can also use the EOSC Marketplace offering API and use the API to connect with our database, and this way publish the offering of your resources via the API. And if you are more interested in the APIs, you can use the link given here. Order management has a different ways of integration, and the integration possibilities are also reflected in the interoperability patterns. So now that there are 3 ways supported from the integrational point of view. If you want to use what is given by the platform, you can use the tools offered by the EOSC platform. So the combination of EOSC Marketplace that you have just shown and System Order Management Back Office, SOMBO, which is a place where you can manage the orders received from the users, answer them, and then it is triggered back to the EOSC Marketplace, and the result of this order is being shown to the end user in its dashboard. The second part, because one of the integration realized in the marketplace, it's the integration with Jira. It's our reference integration tool at the moment. And if you also as a community is using Jira as your place to manage the orders, the access requests, you can integrate your Jira, community Jira with our Jira adapter, and this way also manage the orders submitted by the users in the EOSC Marketplace. This is very important because we know that many of the providers who might be interested in EOSC or are already interested in EOSC have their own way of dealing with the orders, with the with the access requests. This is why we put a lot of emphasis into developing the possibilities of integration of your outer solutions with the marketplace part. And the third part is a possibility of see, I forgot about this part where this is nicely written. And the third part is the possibility of integrating your own solutions, tailor-made provider or community order management system with the use of REST API or reference Python client. In EOSC, we have a dedicated workflow for order management, but this way of integration allows to integrate your own workflow for the order processing and map it with what we are having on our side in EOSC platform. So this is just a little more details about the integration number 3 with the ordering process. So as I have said, the EOSC Marketplace allows you either to integrate your community order management system with the marketplace itself, but you can also, in this way, you can manage your own orders on your own parameters and integrate with somebody at the same time. And apart from the orders themselves, what can be also exchanged between marketplace and your order management system are the messages, which is an important part from the customer relationship perspective. About the future of the order management, in the nearest future, and I didn't put months on purpose because what we are having in mind as a final goal is the availability or the possibility to integrate or to deliver the whole environment around order management. So the reporting with coordination with the provider component, also capacity management if possible. And for this, we need integrations with all the other components of EOSC Core. So in our nearest developments, we are foreseeing the integration with service accounting, with, of course, also research product accounting, and the same applies for service and research products monitoring. We also want to integrate the different models for the procurement, but this can be done once there is a vision from EOSC which models be supported in EOSC in general. But what is our final goal here is what Mark has also already mentioned. That one of the goals until the end, at the end of the project, is the execution framework. And for this, we need to cooperate together on that, because to be able to allow users to discover, order, and in the end access and execute, especially execute from the platform itself, it needs a close collaboration between us as EOSC Core and US providers. And if you have use cases or a will to cooperate with us on the use cases, possible use cases, because then please contact us. We will for sure try to reach out to you basing on our knowledge. But if you are willing to give us or tell us your use cases, possible use cases, and have a will to be like the proof of concept of the execution framework in EOSC platform, please reach out to one of the mails given here or any other mails that you will see in other presentations as well, because we do talk with each other. And I will end here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Roksana. The final aspect of the EOSC Core that we will cover is the help desk, which will be presented by Pavel Weber. Pavel is working at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology and is involved in several EU projects related to EOSC with a focus on the delivery of support and collaborative services. Within EOSC Future specifically, he leads the EOSC help desk system task, so he's perfectly placed to present this help desk to you. So Pavel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to give a short introduction to EOSC help desk, describe its current features and functions, and give a short overview on the roadmap. So the EOSC help desk is the major service in the EOSC ecosystem, and it facilitates the instant communication for basically everyone in the EOSC, provides proactive support for EOSC users, ensures stable operation of EOSC services, and also facilitates support for users of EOSC service providers. And here I would like to give you the reference card for later reference with the main URLs related to the help desk and help desk web pages, email to submit the requests, a link to the interoperability guidelines, which collects in detail the integration possibilities with the help desk. Starting with the general workflow from user perspective, it's the simplest workflow, well known. It's a ticket submission. What I would like to describe here, so currently we have 3 ways for users to submit the tickets. This one is the email, another is the help desk dashboard, which user can use after logging with the EOSC AAI, and a feedback form from the EOSC portal, which provides the possibility to submit the request without login, just by filling this form and pressing submit button. This is just to make it clear what is now available. Going to more details and major features of the current EOSC help desk technology. So we have user-friendly customer interface, the dashboard for help desk staff to efficiently manage the incoming requests, smart search, customizable fields, history of changes for each ticket, escalation procedure, reporting as shown on the right side of the slide, flexible notification scheme, and many integration possibilities via REST API. So the benefits, coming to the benefits for providers, as provider, you basically don't need to maintain your own help desk. using the EOSC help desk and having single or multiple support groups which you manage and facilitate the support for the users. In future, you will get a branded provider community portal, which is currently in development. And as a provider, if you already have a help desk, you can integrate it with the EOSC help desk. I will talk about it more on next slides. And as I mentioned already, there are multiple ways for customers to interact with you as provider using email, portal, web form, and I didn't mention it, there is also chat possibility if requested. And another benefit for you as provider, you can communicate, so you get the channel to communicate with whole EOS community via instant messages in the help desk. So coming to the main integration options, so currently we have 3 of them. Direct usage, where you use the help desk as a service. Basically, as I mentioned, you get a group or multiple groups, and you implement some custom workflows which you used to have to interact with users. So you use the EOSC help desk fully. The next integration option is the ticket redirection. Here, the EOSC help desk used only just the proxy. It forwards the requests from your user to your help desk or mailing list. And the last option is full integration, which implies the bidirectional synchronization of tickets between your help desk and EOSC. And prerequisite for that, that your help desk has API in place. Want to say a few words about typical workflow for provider in this context. So the user has basically 2 ways to submit tickets to you as a provider. Of course, there is always the way to submit a ticket to the central support first line of the EOSC. And as provider, you could request also dedicated channel based on the your own email address. So this is the second way. So for the user, in this way, the tickets go not via the central first line support, but directly to you. So there is no EOSC level first line involvement in this case. So you act basically more standalone using just the technical facilities of the EOSC help desk. And after the ticket is arrived in your support group via central unit or directly from the user, you still have the possibility to interact with the first line support if you have questions or with any other support units in the EOSC help desk. In the same time, you can forward your ticket to the underlying groups which you define. I mean, if you have many multiple services and multiple units, you can do the same. You can define multiple subgroups and redirect the ticket to the next level. And finally, when the answer is provided, you submit it back to the user. This brings me to the top level roadmap. It's a rather high level roadmap focused on the functions which are important for providers. It doesn't cover all the things which will be implemented, and it's given without any detailed dates, so just general overview. So we considered to finalize the integration with the AGI and UDAT help desks using the full synchronization and ticket redirection options. And we have started to enable help desk as a service for providers as a pilots. And in this way, the procedure is simple. We collect the request, analyze the requirements together, establish specification, and deploy the chosen configuration with possibility of customization later during the initial test phase. And we will also provide a way to define the configuration for the help desk during onboarding process in the EOSC portal later. For the next year, I can also only say that we plan to enable dedicated branded portals for providers and research communities, so that you redirect your users to the portal, which is branded with your community brand, and so the users basically have some special functions there, or special offers to submit ticket depending on the configuration for your environment. And my last slide, where to start. If you're interested to learn more about the help desk without reading too much documentation, I just suggest you to open a ticket that you have an interest, and then you get an access to the test instance as an agent, meaning that you get more rights to examine and test major features and functions. And if you are further interested, we will continue the integration on the production instance or consider other options. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, everyone, then we have about 20 minutes left for questions, but we also do have a lot of questions. So I'm going to start taking you through this Slido now. Someone asks, Elixir just migrated their AAI to the life sciences RI AAI, which seems incompatible with Open Athens, and researchers have lost easy access. Someone is saying then, oh, maybe there's too many AAIs. Or
I can take this.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So first of all, right now, what is happening with Elixir and License AI is actually towards the opposite direction. From having a number of AIs, actually consolidating all of them to one AI that will serve the whole life science community, bringing together 13 research infrastructures. As far as I know, because I checked also now with people from life sciences, basically the migration to the life science AI started 2 weeks ago, and already more than 95% of the users have successfully migrated. This is more than 7,000 users. There are some problems, and they do deal with these problems for a small portion of users. But I think this is one of the activities that were very much supporting this consolidation of the AIs to one. Having said this, in relation to the EOSC AI, let me say that the EOSC AI is not here to replace any of these existing AIs. It is actually to enable them to interoperate with each other. So we're not talking about creating yet another AI. It is more about making sure that the various AIs that we are already seeing being built by these infrastructures work correctly with each other, and at the same time, organize one collective way that we can interact with identity providers, users, so that at the end of the day, the user experience improves, and it's for the benefit of them and the researchers to be able to access services. In any case, I'm happy to follow up with any of you if you have any further questions regarding this. But I think this is one of the very successful, from my point of view, activities that are happening right now. Of course, some difficulties were expected, in particular for the life science community, to do this very huge migration. But I think this is really towards the very right direction.
Okay, thanks a lot for whoever asked that question. I hope that clarifies it. If not, raise your hand and then we can still follow up. Next question that I wanted to take is the one that mentions that the EOSC service and research product catalog is in the core. Does it then mean that the existing catalogs for this catalog will the existing catalogs this catalog will reuse will also be in the core. I don't know who of you is best placed to answer that question. Maybe Kostas or Andreas, is there something you can reply to?
This is perhaps something that Mark can answer, but in general, no. The answer will be no. They will be integrated with the core, but they will not be part of the core. The core is as we showed in the presentation earlier in the morning, is the bread and butter that makes EOSC tick, right? It's not, so it cannot be extended to something that is really huge. It's all about, let's say, creating a system of systems that can, and the core is the glue between this system of systems. I don't know if Mark or Diego want to add something on this.
Yeah, I also I would say that maybe the distinction to make here is between what is part of the core and what is integrated with the core, right?
Exactly.
Okay, then a next question that we have, which I see that's gotten a lot of upvotes, is the users and providers perspective slide. Roksana, I think that's one that was in your presentation.
Yes, it is.
Someone is saying that it does seem like a big ask for providers and that it duplicates efforts. So can you maybe talk about why we ask them to duplicate efforts, or is it really the case? Do you have some insight there?
Yes, well, the duplication of effort, that's a true, and it might be true. Everything depends on what the providers have on their side, because if they have their own solutions for the order management or for the resource catalog even, there are evolving possibilities of the integration and automation of the flow of both services, offers, and orders between the EOSC system and the provider's system. So if the case is that there is an order management system, because I've been talking about the order management system on the provider side, and there is for some reason no possibility of the integration, and there is a need to enter the parameters one more time, yes, then it can be the duplication of the effort. But I would say that there is an added value of that. Of course, everything depends on what is the main incentive for the providers, but the user base is one thing. The other thing is that if there are some problems with the integration process, we are here to listen and to adapt the solutions so it doesn't seem like a duplication effort. There are APIs for both the offering part and the ordering part. So I might better answer the question if there is a little more detail into it, like where is the duplication part, if there are APIs.
Okay, so maybe if the person who asked that question wants to follow up, please raise your hand and then I can unmute you. Or not. I'm not going to force you, but I'll give you some time. Don't see any raised hands, so maybe let's move on to a next question, and feel free to follow up on Slido as well on that question. Then there's two questions that I would like to bundle. Two about the help desk that I think are in essence asking the same thing. There's someone saying resources will no longer need their help desk as EOSC DH will step in. That seemed quite ambitious. And there's someone else then saying, I would be very happy to hand over all my user requests, but can the EOSC help desk actually help this, or do you have the knowledge level to reply? So I think, Pavel, some clarification is needed there on what the help desk can and cannot.
Yes, absolutely. I still think there's two different questions, although yeah, they're connected to they're both about the help desk. Answering the first question, there is no ambition to basically switch all the resource help desks to the EOSC help desk. It's only an option, and you as a service provider free to decide, would you like to use it or not? And if you would like to use it, we have capacity to accommodate your request and requirement. And of course, this will not happen in one day. So there will be, as I mentioned, there will be a testing period where you can see if you're satisfied or not, and you can anytime decide something else. And still, we consider that we can manage the request for many service providers, and this is based on our experience and of delivery of the help desk. Yes, so but again, this is not a easy process, and this is basically a process of co-creation of this support together with you as providers. So we provide you technical solution and you manage your users. And this brings me also to answer to the next question, where probably this is not very well explained by myself. So the providers will only get the help desk as the platform, but EOSC will not provide detailed help, so doesn't provide the support for your users. So to answer specific technical questions on the resources and the services you provide, you still have to do it yourself, just using the EOSC help desk to communicate with other systems and services. Just this help desk you can see as a platform, as collaboration platform, and to enable this contact and communication with your customer and or your user, and with all related services which are around. But to answer the questions, you still have to do it yourself. So the EOSC could probably answer very high-level questions at the first level, is if the tickets will come through the central unit. As I described, there is also possibility that the tickets go directly to you without going to the first line. If you prefer the first option, that the tickets collected at the first line, then you can expect that simple tickets about your resources will be answered at that buffer level, but the more detailed and complex questions, you have to do it to provide support yourself. I hope I answered these questions, and I give it back to you.
Okay, then there's another question that I would like to forward to Andreas, which is that Volmar is asking, or pointing out correctly, I think, that accounting for research projects can be quite delicate, and asking how transparent will be in the metrics that are used for that and how they are applied. Is that something you can give more info about, Andreas?
Yes, thank you very much for this question. So, and I would agree to this is a delicate matter. Regarding this, we are working on the usage statistics and accounting for research products for views and downloads at the moment. And if we see any dedicated or see events like views or downloads on the one hand from the repository side, and on the other hand from some national aggregators. So we have mechanism to deduplicate these ones and have a transparency for in the provision part. So each record that we are collecting of metadata have a provisioning part, and this provisioning part will also visible for the users. So hopefully this answered the question right. So otherwise, please give me a note.
Okay, I hope this was clear. Then the next question that I wanted to add is again for Roksana. Someone had a question about the ordering system, but I've just lost that.
Yeah, I saw it when you were scrolling, and that just made me realize that I've missed the most important part.
Okay.
And it's probably the also the understanding of the first question that has been asked.
Yeah.
What is the added value if the provider has its own order management system on the side? I lost one very important element of the EOSC, so the EOSC interoperability framework. When I was showing you the month 30 milestone, it was about the possibility for the users to create the workflows. And in the end, it also depends on the cooperation between EOSC and the providers. But in the end, what we would like to deliver as the EOSC community is the possibility to integrate and use together as a common, maybe not common environment, but allow users to create environments consisting of different EOSC resources. So added, because order management is ready for it right now. What I saw you when I shown you the user space named the EOSC projects, it's like a placeholder for the composability aspect of the platform. So right now we have several instances of different EOSC services which are integrated and can be used together. And in the end, we are hoping that the interoperability framework that will be discussed on the last session this day, we are hoping to deliver you some guidelines that will show what types of resources we envision, and you probably as well, that can naturally go together and create workflows or environments for the users, and to create patterns to compose the services. And when we add that to the plate, then the order management, the central order management of EOSC, and the possibility to integrate your own service management system with the central one will have an added value, because the user will be able to specify different components, different parts of the workflow he wants to create with EOSC help, create orders connected to the environment created for the user's need. And then the order management system will just distribute to the given providers connected with the environment created with the users the orders underpinned. So you will get the order connected with the user's overall order. You can answer or either answer questions or update the status of the order, but at the same time, you can see of course, it will be correlated with the GDPR issues, but you can see who other is taking part in the environment, and also if everybody gives a yes for this, you can also create a messaging group, and this can be this will be hosted by the ask a question to the provider bit I was showing in the screen. So right now, when not all of the EOSC parts are ready, the same applies to the monitoring and accounting that hopefully will be integrated in the system as well, and be a part of a large cycle for the end user. So when not everything is in production yet, it doesn't necessarily seem like a big added value, the order management system. But in the end, we do hope it makes sense to integrate your order management system with the central one to be able to communicate with other partners in EOSC and the users who want to combine and access the EOSC resources. And that's all from me. I hope it helps.
Thanks a lot, Roksana. If not, I'm sure people will follow up in Slido. Don't have that much time left, but there's two questions I would like to bundle again, which is whether EOSC has a capacity to anticipate needs and changes and to be proactive on that. And then how user requirements are collected, documented, and prioritized. Again, normally this would be a great question for Mark, but because Mark had to leave, I'm not sure which one of you feels most confident answering. Anyone?
Since there's no other volunteer, I can volunteer to answer this. In general, EOSC is okay. EOSC future is well, let's say, prepared in order to have some capacity to anticipate needs and to be, I wouldn't say proactive, but trying to be able to change. to that extent, there is work package 3, which is all about, let's say, communicating with all the EOSC task forces that are, let's say, designing the future of how EOSC will operate. That's one part of the equation. And the other part of the equation is that we, within EOSC Future, there is a number of communities already continuing with the requirements, suggestions, ideas, how things can help, can be able to, say, integrate with EOSC Core. I know that all the teams and that the account monitoring and accounting, which I'm responsible for, is open to all the feedback that we get from everybody else. And I know that everyone within all the, let's say, component providers within EOSC Core, within reason, are able to accommodate this and try to use use cases as, let's say, the driving force in order to, let's say, devise how the workflows work, how the integration points operate, and how in general the EOSC Core operates. We're not devising, let's say, new features or new ideas because we think they are fancy. We try to put the user's perspective on how the user will use the service and what will be the benefit for the end, every researcher out there, or a research community in general, or an individual researcher on its own. Having said that, one needs to understand that we cannot solve every requirement out there, and this is why the work package 3 is there to coordinate how the requirements come and prioritize them accordingly. I hope that helps clarify a bit.
I see both Christos and Roksana have their hands raised. We'll need to finish the meeting shortly, but I'll first hand it over to you, Christos.
Yes, very quickly. Also, let me say that for the EOSC AAI, first of all, there's the EOSC AAI task force that is running right now under the EOSC Association. And there we do focus on the requirements of how the EOSC AAI should involve getting input from science clusters, research infrastructures, national initiatives. And currently within the EOSC Future project, basically we're working on the requirements that have been gathered from the previous task force, and it was published basically beginning of 2021. In addition to this, because we're focusing on the implementation right now, we're working with the various science projects that are being executed right now to understand what are their immediate requirements in terms of the AI implementation. So there is a process around this which goes much beyond the EOSC Future project itself, but we're dealing with things that for sure transfers one project, right? Many of the capabilities that we operate. I'm pretty sure that this is the same also for other components, but this is the situation for the EOSC AI.
Let me also add to what Christos said, that there is a number of working groups trying for all, let's say, aspects I'm going to do that you are more than willing to accept in the contributions and feedback. Now, I'm talking about the current implementation working groups happening right now, right, for all the integration options. Integration framework with that EOSC Future is proposing, and also the whole of the integration framework we are proposing is open for consultation as we speak, so that we gather feedback and requirements so that we can prioritize them in the next iteration.
Hey, Roksana, anything you want to add to that?
Only a summary, I think, for what the gentleman has already said, but there are different tools, different elements in the EOSC environment, and all of the elements have their own channels to gather the requirements. Some of them are dedicated, for example, tasks which are taking care of the user requirement gathering. Sometimes there are dedicated surveys, dedicated focus groups, dedicated events to do so, but there is also a channel through EOSC portal to gather the requirements. So we are having different channels for different tools. I would say that maybe the EOSC platform is kind of a special one because, not special, anyway, I'm withdrawing that. There is a channel through the EOSC platform itself where you can write your requirements, and there is a JIRA in the project which is gathering the requirements of the users, and the prioritizing, as Kostas and Christos has explained a little bit. It's a mixture of the work between the work packages, so the teams responsible for each element of the environment, and let's say coordination, like task forces, like work package 3 that Kostas has mentioned. But yes, we are very willing for any requirement there. especially about your participation in the events that are being, I hope, well announced within the EOSC Future channels. Thank you.
Thanks for recapping that, Roksana. We are wrapping up this session. The next session that we have is a session on verification of data and services. I hope to see all of you there in about 10 minutes. And thanks a lot to our speakers for the brilliant presentations. See you soon.